Recordings are off.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Let's call to order the Monday, September 23rd meeting of the Projects and Services Committee. Our first order of business is to call to order. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll. Do we do that still? Call the roll? Okay.
After pledge of allegiance.
As they would do pledge first.
That's roll call of members after the pledge. Yes, let's let Director and Mayor Brown lead us in the pledge.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
How did I do? Okay.
Wonderful. You got every word. Perfect.
Practicing.
Roll call.
Okay, Director Branning is absent, Director Brown,
Here.
Vice Chair Josie,
Here.
and Chair Hubbard.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you much. Item 3 is meeting open to the public. Members of the audience can have 2 minutes to speak on items that are on the agenda. Do you have any in-person in the room speakers or online?
We have one person online. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand. They're not raising their hand. So I did not receive anything.
Okay, very good. We'll close public comment then. Item 3, we'll move on to item 4. Minutes of the August 26th, 2024 meeting of the Project Services Committee. The recommendation is to approve. Are there any questions or comments or motion by members of the committee?
Come with approval. Second.
Moves, Brown seconds. Is there any public comment on item 4? Seeing none, roll call vote. No. All in favor? Aye. Oh, very good. Passes unanimously. Item 5 is the strategic plan update. Staff report.
Thank you, Chair Hubbard. Good afternoon, committee members. Today we are giving you an informational update on our strategic plan. If you could pull up the slides, please. I am joined by Linda Meckel. She is a senior transportation planner with CHS Group. CHS Group was selected as our consulting group to lead the strategic planning effort. Next slide, please. So today I will take a minute to introduce you virtually to our CHS team, and then we'll go through the scope of work and the timeline of tasks and and review the immediate next steps. Then we can open it up for questions and discussion. So I want to introduce the CHS team here. First and foremost, Linda, who is joining us remotely. She will be our project manager. Linda has over 18 years experience in transit, including a role as a senior planner for San Francisco County Transportation Authority, and as well as with the Sonoma Marin Area Rapid Transit. Shi-Sin Chow, it will be the principal in charge of this project. He has over 40 years experience in transportation planning and engineering. His role will typically include providing strategic guidance. Moving on to William Lieberman. William has over 50 years experience in a variety of roles and on a variety of projects for both public transportation agencies and private consultants. Over the course of his career, he's been the technical writer and editor for hundreds of reports. Moving to Carmen Clark. Carmen Clark is the principal of Carmen Clark Consulting, and she will serve as the lead consultant for stakeholder engagement. She has 39 years of experience in public transportation, including in the public and private sector. And last but not least, Kathleen Kelly, who should be familiar to at least Supervisor Hubbard and Mayor Brown. Kathleen Kelly has joined us as a strategic advisor, and she has held key positions throughout the Bay Area in both her full-time role, but also on an interim basis. She is retired. She doesn't take any full-time positions anymore. And Kathleen Kelly served as the LAVTA executive director for about 7 months in 2014. So that's how I got to know Kathleen. All right, can we move to the next slide? So I wanted to go through the core tasks with you. The first task is to develop a stakeholder engagement plan. And the objective of this task is really to collect and document insights, perspectives, ideas, and decisions. And the way we will execute on this task is we will develop a stakeholder engagement plan that will include interviews with each of our board members and our executive team. The interviews will occur in October, and then there will be a workshop in November. We have an optional task that includes interviews and a workshop with key external stakeholders. And when we get to our questions discussion slide, I would love to hear the committee's feedback on whether you agree that we should be including external stakeholders in this planning process. Next slide. So the second core task is an organizational assessment. And the objective of this is to understand the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats within LAVTA's organizational structure, policies, and operational frameworks. And the tactic for completing this task is to review all of our organizational documents, policies, and reports, and conduct a SWOT analysis, or strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis. Next is actually the development of the strategic plan. Obviously, our objective is to develop a comprehensive strategic plan for LAVTA. And the tactic for executing this task is leveraging information from the previous two tasks, develop a strategic plan document that updates our agency's goals, vision statements, and long-term objectives. And this is really the time to highlight all initiatives that we have underway at LAVTA in order to tie them back to the goals. And lastly, implementation plans. So we don't want this to sit on a shelf. We plan on operationalizing the strategic plan. And so we are looking to develop an actionable implementation plan to guide the execution of the strategic plan's short-term actions and strategies. And the tactic for executing this task is the CHS team will recommend timelines and priorities for implementation. They will also develop key performance indicators for success, as well as responsible parties or the responsible executives. And we are planning to tie in the implementation plan to our budgeting process, as well as our annual work plan process. So our timeline of tasks, we are in September. We've begun we finalized our scope. We've started our project management meetings, and really kicking off that stakeholder engagement is our next immediate step. The organizational assessment will also occur in October, concurrent with the stakeholder interviews. After the holidays, and then in the new year, we will, if we desire to engage our external stakeholders, we will do so in the new year. We will also finalize the organizational assessment report, and then the strategic plan and implementation plan development will occur in early spring next year. And really, we want to guide our budget process. So we wanted to get this wrapped up by March. I think that is not possible. So, but we think we will be far enough along in March to thoughtfully influence our budget for fiscal 26. Next slide, please. So as mentioned, our immediate next steps are to schedule one-on-one interviews with each of you in the month of October. Our project team and the LAVTA staff will be gathering all the materials needed for the organizational assessment. And we know how busy you are, and we know how important it is to get you all in the same room for an in-person workshop. So we'll send out a poll, a doodle poll.
It won't be before November 5th.
No, it will not be before November 5th. No, sir.
I very much appreciate that.
No, it will not be before November 5th. And I think that is my last slide. Before I reopen it up for discussion, Linda, I wanted to just offer you the floor. If you had any remarks or anything I said incorrectly, you can correct me.
No, but thank you so much for having us, and we're really excited to get started on this project.
Okay, so with that, we can answer any questions that we
Perfect.
Joe, any questions?
I have a question. Thank you. I appreciate the effort though.
Impossible. You have any question?
Well, maybe after I ask mine.
Brown has to have a question.
Then she'll come up with something. Yeah, I think the strategic plan sounds like a wonderful way for LAVTA to really use our resources to the best possible. Just a couple questions. when it says the plan will incorporate a process which includes equity, diversity, inclusion lens, what does that mean?
That is a great question. I think, in the spirit of thinking about LAVTA's goals and mission, we do need to consider equity, inclusion, and diversity. And that could be, the structure of our organization. It could be hiring, practices. It could also mean, thinking about equity when you are developing your KPIs for your service. So routes that serve your, a higher percentage of lower income people, maybe you want to think about, not penalizing those routes, and giving them a grace period, if you will, if they're unproductive. Linda, do you have any thoughts on, diversity, equity, and inclusion?
No, I think you said it well, Christy. And it does look at kind of the organization as a whole and how diversity is either in the structure of the organization as well as the performance indicators and the goals and objectives down the line.
Okay, because when I was thinking about equity, I was also thinking about less able-bodied groups. Excuse me. For example, we have Sunflower Hill. We missed you. I'm sorry. Sunflower Hill had a big event this weekend, and they have 31 homes of IDD individuals who are not drivers, but they would be more in need. Dublin is working on a facility as well, 2 facilities. Such an overachiever. So Dublin is also working on facilities for these residents, which really have limited options for transportation, and bus is great. We're also talking about less disadvantaged youth communities that are going to schools. So I just wanted to understand if this plan will incorporate a process to including DEI. Is it for our riders or for our community here at LAVTA or staff? Sounds like it's both.
Yeah, I would say it's all of the above.
Absolutely.
And then how much money you want to invest in that, because at some point there's a break even. It says that the fiscal impact is no impact, and I believe this is going to cost some money because I doubt Linda and her team are working for free. So why does it say no impact?
The update that I'm giving you today has no fiscal impact associated with it. The contract value is about $91,000. My apologies, yeah, we didn't bring the contract to the board because it was within my contract, or my spending authority, but the value.
Budgeted.
Correct, budgeted.
It's in the budget.
Yes.
Well, was it budgeted or is it within your spending authority?
Both, yes, we did budget, and because it came in under 100,000, I was able to sign the contract.
I know it's a policy that you certainly have the authority. I know I would like to know if you spend $91,000, is your budget signing 100?
Correct.
So you're
Yeah.
close to that number. Of course, I don't want to know 10, 15.
Okay.
Something close to that number, especially a strategic plan, which is significant investment into moving wheels forward.
Okay.
So.
You spurred a question.
So anyway, I'm looking forward to it coming forward. This is not the first time we've had a strategic plan, and you asked the question, should the board members want to have stakeholder buy-in, and I absolutely would like to see that. I know it's your first bullet, but the ones that come to mind, of course, are schools, BART, aligning up to BART, and other transit ACE, Hacienda, traffic engineering, the regular players that you interact with. Definitely, I wouldn't want those to be the most important, I want riders to be the most important, but I'd like to make sure they're have a seat at the table. Those are my comments.
Josie.
You're not wrong, you spurred a question. Couple of them. One question on the signing authority and the budget. I'm assuming that you bring to the finance committee when you signed a contract, just to give that as that part of your executive director.
That has not been past practice. I am completely open to that feedback. I did include a blurb about this in my last executive director's report, including the contract dollar amount, but I can make that a regular report to the finance committee if that would be useful and helpful.
I mean, I'm not on the finance committee, but it seems to me that that would be a good practice, just for transparency's sake.
And especially when you bring an agenda item forward.
Well, yeah, but I think just in general, as part of the treasurer's report or part of the executive director's
Mhm.
report to the finance committee to talk about what contracts have been signed. Certainly they don't need to okay that the contracts were signed, they just need to know that happened, just from a good governance standpoint. I think that's a good thing to be doing, regardless of what the cutoff was. And also, you're not signing contracts that weren't already budgeted for, in any regard, correct? Correct. Thank you. Also, I agree about stakeholder engagement, and I would think that, as part of but everything we do, but also in particular, the conversation with equity, diversity, and inclusion, that we are including as stakeholders, the, city manager's offices in all three cities. Because, we do have as part of our bylaws, that we have, sort of an income distribution of, transit hours among the three cities. And the way we handle that has been, sort of a patchwork of putting, for lack of a better word. And that's okay, I think, because of our equity, inclusion and diversity. The three cities are not the same, we don't have the same demographics, but as part of our, we have had in the Tri-Valley as a whole, but also in, sort of in declining order, Dublin, Pleasanton, Livermore, a tremendous influx of people who were not native to this country, who have different, expectations of it. And what buses look like, and different expectations of whether they drive everywhere or not. And so, as part of our look at diversity, equity, inclusion, looking at, who are the residents of the Tri-Valley and what are their expectations around transit. And as we move from needing to send 11 buses from East Dublin to West Dublin every afternoon, how we can best divert, those resources, both buses and drivers, to, better optimize service within Dublin, as well as within the rest of our routes, and how can we continue to serve the riders, that we might be missing now because we are having to spend so much of our, inventory just getting kids back and forth to Dublin High, and no longer having to do that in a couple of years. That would be a great package. Thank you for your comment.
Linda, of all the things that you do and your company does, how many are these strategic framework projects? Is this all you do, or do you do a bunch of other things?
No, so CHS Consulting Group is a small transportation planning and engineering firm based in Oakland. And we do a variety of different projects, kind of looking at the whole sphere of the transportation system. And so I'm newer to CHS. My experience has largely been with agencies. And then I've been at a couple different consulting firms, but we very much picked this team based on the past agency experience that the members bring.
And then for the team, you're the team lead, is that right? Or the point person, rather?
Yes,
And-
I'm the PM. I'm the project manager.
And each of the team members, are they gonna be quarter time, half time, 3/4, full time, comes and goes week by week? Are we gonna get the A team focused on this
Yes.
all the way through?
Yes, you have the A team focused on this. It's a time and materials based project. So there's hours associated with each task that each person on the team will be billing. And we've that breakdown that you saw earlier, that schedule, it's a week by week schedule. And there are hours allocated within those weeks to complete the tasks and deliverables.
Okay. I'll resonate with what Director Brown mentioned with regard to Sunflower Hill and in the future, 2 projects coming in Dublin. It seems to me that that population is heavily dependent. I would like to, I don't know why I haven't done this. I want to go over there and talk to all of them and find out how many, if they don't ride the bus every day, then what are they doing? Because they're doing something. They're pretty active, and do we really meet their needs? They're the ones that need it most. I think the Sean Costellos, the Sunflower Hills, I don't know, I almost want to get a list from our county social services department. They have a name and location for every one of them in our communities. Are we touching them And I get it, some of them have figured out how to use transit, and in fact, they've become our frequent flyers and frequent complainers. But that's okay, we love them all. But, are we truly serving all their needs? So I'd like to really make sure we're doing that. The school trippers, totally important, because there's so many of them, and they're our youth, they're our future. You know, and of course, the working poor that really need transportation, they like have to figure it out. They gotta get to work, and they do. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be where they are. But, those are the populations I care most.
Should I add one to that?
Yeah.
Our seniors that are non-drivers.
Yeah.
And visually handicapped seniors as well.
Yeah,
We have a couple of low-income senior housing developments in Coventry Gardens and some higher-end senior housing that probably shouldn't drive or don't drive. We want to give them options. So yeah, it covers the whole spectrum, that whole DEX.
Goodness Village,
And Goodness
there's
Village.
gotta be, and I don't know, to get bus like.
We do,
They must have to
yeah, Route
walk.
14 goes there.
Yeah, Route 14 goes there, yeah, so.
So I might follow up to get, some specific contacts from you, and just so we have an inclusive list of the
Right.
stakeholders.
Which is why I wanted the city manager's offices to be involved, because we also have, all of the cities, have additional projects coming online. We have, a senior affordable housing project coming online in Dublin that is close to a route, but not on a route.
Okay.
We have others also coming online that will be close enough to a BART station that they're covered. But making sure that we have, coverage everywhere. And, we also have tried to reach houses in all of our cities, making sure that we know, where they are and how close they are to a bus route.
Okay, that's great.
Show up to the Reach
Of course,
fundraiser event and just.
Of course.
People right there.
we missed you. Yeah.
Yeah, was that this?
So it was a week before, but did you say the county has access to some of these?
I think through our social services department, we must know, because we're either cutting a subsidy check or providing money for, in-house aid, or we're doing something with them, that's what the county does.
Another resource.
All right, well, very good, thank you in advance, Linda, for what would be a great project. Any public comment on item 5? Seeing none, we'll move to item 6, capital projects update. Again, information only.
Informational update for you. Thank you, Linda. We wanted to bring the committee an update of all of our capital projects that are underway. You may recall, I dubbed this year the year of the shovel, and it is proving to be an accurate title for this year. So without further ado, Dave Mappa, our capital projects manager, will walk you through, I think, 6 or 7 projects.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you for your time. Our most exciting is actually our Atlantis fueling station and fuel cell development project. We currently have met with our project team at CT twice now and scheduled our first task, which is to perform extensive surveys of our routes. The routes that were chosen are those that are the longest and have the steepest grades. Those are scheduled to begin September 25th, this Wednesday. Our next one is the Rutan facility hydrogen retrofit project. This project will allow us to maintain fuel cell electric buses here at Rutan until the Atlantis facility is completed. And will install specialized hydrogen detection and ventilation equipment, as well as retrofit existing fire suppression and alarm equipment. An IFP for this project was issued in June and closed on September 6th. 3 bids were received. Staff will present their recommendations for award to the board at the October meeting. The Tri-Valley Passenger Facilities Enhancements Project. That's quite a mouthful, so we've actually named that 3 because it centers around the East Dublin BART Station, Las Positas College, and Morris Livermore Lab. These locations will benefit from updated shelters, improved lighting, modern real-time wayfinding signs, and other amenities. Currently, we have met with our contractor, Kinley Horn, and scheduled on-site surveys. Once those are completed, we will proceed to the 30% design phase. The Livermore Transit Center Improvements Project. This is actually 3 small projects. but it's all under the Memorial Transit Center. The first will repaint both the shade structure at the transit center itself and the signature stop, which is located outside the transit center proper in front of the parking garage on Railroad Avenue. The IFP for this project was actually issued today and is expected to close on October 25th. Assuming there's no complications, we will issue a notice to proceed on November 1st and anticipate completion 60 days thereafter. The second part will focus around lighting conditions between the transit center and that signature stop. That's a very dark corridor, and it is lit by one street light. Staff are working with the city's contractors to develop an acceptable light plan. And once we do, the agency will issue an IFP and work with the city to develop an MOU to complete the project, leveraging their expertise as municipal projects managers. We're not that, and we recognize it. The third task involves removing and replacing 2 monument signs at the entrances to the transit center. Kinley Horn is our contractor of choice for this, and we recently had a kickoff meeting with them. We discussed our vision, and since then we've shared our as-built plans for the transit center, which gives them the infrastructure they're going to be dealing with, as well as provided them with city contacts, because those signs will have to meet the city's downtown standards. Once they have developed that, they'll bring those preliminary plans back to us. And finally is our cloud TSP upgrade. This project will implement modern TSP for LAVTA and upgrade the hardware across the entire fleet for future needs. We're currently engaged in Kinley Horn, and the kickoff meeting is scheduled for the last week of September. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Before we open up to questions, if I could just add one detail. It is looking like we will have a celebration of our fueling station on October 29th at 11 a.m. This will be a big check presentation from Congressman DeSaulnier and I believe Swalwell. I will send out a note to everyone once it's officially confirmed. But it's an exciting celebration. We received a $3 million earmark from both Congressman Swalwell and DeSaulnier, and so they want to come out and celebrate that with us. So I'll make sure. Pardon?
3 each?
No, 3 total. 3 total, yeah. I wish it was 3 each.
29.
The 29th at 11 a.m. And it will be at our Atlantis facility. Congressman DeSaulnier is confirmed, and we're waiting on Congressman Swalwell.
Congressman DeSaulnier just got a teeny bit of Dublin just recently,
Yes,
so that's
yes,
nice, he's
yes.
contributing.
Not so much a team.
A chunk of it.
Thank you.
He's my season, not mine. Congressman.
Okay.
Are we gonna dress up for Halloween that day?
If you desire.
Oh, you.
It was actually
9:30 and 31?
They pitched Halloween and I got excited and then they changed it.
We know what you like.
I'll be at board of supervisors. Questions, Brown?
So these are quite a few projects. Is it possible to combine them for efficiency and reduce cost? Or are they very independent contractors?
They are very independent and
Okay, a few of them seem like painting and updating, installing bus stops, signs.
And these are grant funded too, so we've got different funding sources in a lot of cases, so,
Never mind. All right, that's my.
Josie, questions?
Yeah, thank you. The street lighting project, that's fully on our property. There's no chance of the city helping us with the money of that.
we are going to approach that subject once we actually get the design to them and see how much it's gonna cost. We do have grant funding to help pay for it, but depending on what their plan calls for and price tag, then we'll go back to them. That's help.
Okay. And then, explain to me why we are changing these monument signs?
This was just envisioned in one of the projects that we submitted grant funding for. They're a little outdated. They've got the old logo. And so we wanted to refresh and just make the transit center a more welcoming place and make the signs more visible. Just to kind of refresh the whole thing.
And when is it, I'm not trying to be too big, but this picture, how old is this picture, this photo?
It's about,
Okay, good, because the landscaping hasn't always looked like this, and so keeping the landscaping like this and go a long way towards making those signs look nice. And so it's great that we have a grant to replace the sign. I hope we're not spending any non-grant capital funding to replace that sign. But do we have a budget for ongoing maintenance of this landscaping area? Because up until recently, this is not what it looked like. And I would hate for us to update the sign and for it to revert back to the way it appeared for the last decade prior to this.
I can answer that question. We do budget for ongoing landscaping, and it is top of mind right now. We do have some dying plants out there. We had a dying tree out in our front, so we have been working with our contractor to make sure they replace all of the plants and whatnot. But yeah, I agree with you. We need to make sure we keep it looking nice once we invest the funding into it. And this is all federal funding. I do not believe, and Tamara, correct me if I'm wrong, is there, you know if there's any local match?
There's always local match to federal.
Oh, okay. Well, so there would be a small local match.
Definitely your COVID funding cut, everything else is always local match.
and honestly, that is the nicer of the two signs. That probably should have put the one that wasn't. so
Yeah,
nice.
this one does look so much.
That is a very nice one.
Next time, go vandalize it and then.
It just seems like the
Carry
sign
one of the
itself
letters
is in
on.
fairly decent shape, the surroundings to it, not as much. And so, you know, we have very limited dollars, we're trying to get Atlantis up and running, this would not be my first choice of a place to expend any of our actual agency dollars, if we can throw it in with another, project,
Yeah.
great, but if we're having to expend agency dollars as a local match in order to get grant funding for this would not be high on my priority list. Updating the landscaping and keeping it.
But that is what we're
nice.
doing. just so you know.
This is a very old grant. This preceded my time here, and it's a federal grant, and we want to close out all our federal grants so that we are as competitive as possible for our federal loan opportunities.
If it helps us, if doing that helps us get there, then I'm all in favor.
Okay.
My question is more deep and profound. Can you explain the difference between an IFB, invitation for bid, and an RFP, request for proposal? Aren't they the same?
No, they are very different, and this actually I had to be educated on.
No, so I'm not the only one.
So request for proposal, you basically tell them what you want,
Oh.
and then they bring you what they're going to give you.
Hmm.
Whereas an IFB, you tell them exactly what you want, including down to part numbers. And then they will give you the price based on what you told them.
And it's typically low bid for an IFB. So you are,
RFP is one,
best value, an RFP is best value to the agency.
which isn't always a little bit.
It isn't always low bid,
Oh.
RFP can give you more choices, but it can also give you something you really don't want.
24 years on elected official, I'd never be able to. Great.
Could I have a little add-on? Is there gonna be an uplight on the monument sign? Because the streetlight is of course behind it, and oftentimes people come in dark early in the morning or later in the evening.
Believe it or not, you can't see it in that picture, there is one.
Okay, good. Okay, great, great, terrific, thank you.
All right, any public comment on item 6? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 7. Item 7 is preview of upcoming agenda items.
So thank you so much, Chair Halbert. We have a light agenda for you for October. What we need to bring back to this committee is our final service plan for service to Emerald High School. So this would be your Route 201. You may recall that we started running our Route 201 service as a pilot, giving the routes a little time to settle so we could see what the ridership levels were. And now that we are, I think, pretty confident that we have made the right choice with redirecting resources, we are ready to take this route through the major service change process, which will require a public hearing. So the first step is to bring to this committee the recommendation, and then following that, we will request the board set a public hearing date.
Okay.
And then in November, we will bring you your first comprehensive report on ridership. So this will be 6 months post Wheels in Motion changes. So I know we're anxiously awaiting that. We will also be bringing you our 2025 marketing plan. And either in November or a meeting shortly after, I think we need to talk about our fiscal 25 bus purchase and fuel cell versus diesel hybrids. So we will know at the end of October if we are successful at TIRCP. And so that will help guide that discussion.
Do you know how Gillig is doing on being a vendor?
I think, they're ready to go to market. They have made some exciting announcements, so, they're coming.
I've been watching for it in the news and it's.
Yeah. I can share, I'll send a link to you.
Okay.
Any public comment on item 7? Seeing none, move to item 8. Matters initiated by committee members. Seeing none, is there any public comment on item 8? Seeing none, we'll move to item 9, which is our next meeting, October 20th, as you mentioned, and then we are